All right. Oh, look, there's another player here. Hello, everyone. Ready to move on here through Malkor's Leap instead of just hugging and hiding right here near the Waste Hollows and looking at some farm animals that have now become corrupted. We're going to press on deep into Malkor's Leap. Our objective to meet Traherne at the tent outside the Ruins of Rennes. Rennes being a pretty exciting place. I love Malkor's Leap. If you can hear in the background right now, maybe the music track is actually changing as I speak. But they actually play a lot of Guild Wars 1 music here. Guild Wars 1 music from Pre-Searing Ascalon, Guild Wars 1 music from Echo Vale Forest and stuff. And it's really quite creepy. It gives us this kind of magical feel. It's kind of a strange mix, honestly. There's lots more banners here. Quite often you find guilds do... And we described what this mechanic is a while ago. Quite often you find guilds do set up these banners in places like this because the big metas spawn. And when you get tons of players, there's just so many thousands of undead that you can tag and get credit off of. So yeah, I believe... Now, don't shoot me on this, but I believe there is an escort that can sometimes appear right here at the start of the map, where some NPCs go on, they mumble about, you know, having a big offensive to go for, and then we push out. And then we go to the first event, which is just up here. Assistance is requested at the Eastern Colonnade camp, and troop movement is currently hindered. So we'll try that out. This guy here has placed a Feast of Mushroom Pizza down, which is really cool, actually, because it ties into what I want to tell you about buildcraft-wise today. So, we get expertise and condition damage from that. Expertise makes conditions we inflict last longer, and condition damage increases the damage that our conditions do. So, very simple. If you want to have a condition damage build, those are great stats to have. Our gear is still a bit of a hodgepodge from all over the place. So, we're not super built for condition damage, but I do want to once again take the lid off of that box and talk about it a little bit. Last time we tried condition damage on Carraflower, we were dealing with the vision and the dream, and then we kind of moved away from it a bit. But condition damage is kind of a big part of being a necromancer. So far, you've just seen me on power builds, the whole way through the series, really. As in, we hit things and instantly do damage. But there are lots of other builds that rely on damage over time, such as if you're running a scepter and a dagger. I showed these before, but you get bleeds and you get torment and you get poison and things that hurt over a while. But the thing is, you need condition damage on your gear to really pull it off. Well, Carraflower is going to really rise up as the true necromancer she was always born to be over the next couple of episodes and start properly looking at condition damage so she can get over some challenges very soon. So as you see here, if you're a new player, one of the ways to interpret and see if people are doing lots of condition damage that can be just fun to think about is all the red icons that appear underneath something that we're fighting. They're conditions I'm inflicting, and the more I stack up, so there I got like 11 bleed, the more damage we're doing, the harder, right? So the more red you see up there and the higher the numbers, the worse it is for your opponent. You can obviously see the actual damage numbers as well, rolling over their heads. But you might want to think about that. So, yeah, I've got a lot to talk about. Here we're at the wreck of the Cavitian. It's a cool sounding thing. I guess it's a boat up here. We feel like we're high on a cliff right now, right? But once upon a time, there were boats that were sunk here, and this was at the bottom of the sea. And that's kind of a weird thought. So we'll move on over. I want to be really cautious here because as we travel through Malkor's, we should find a temple or something. Sorry, a small statue. And we can pray to it to trigger a hidden boss in the map that only is available when you're doing it with the meta going on. So I'll try and keep my eye out as we go forwards. There have actually been two choices for where we can go here. We could have gone south past this POI. This is actually a statue to Melandru that has loads of logging ores around it. So if the daily has come up, again, we've talked about dailies a while ago. If daily is for Orion Lumberer, you often find hordes of players, even here in 2019, charging to this statue just to get loads of trees from Melandru and then leave. It's very, very cool. But yeah, so we'll push up. It looks like they have got some tents set up. I think we may have missed one event.
Sailseer.
Hello. I appreciate it if you move along. You're drawing attention to our puny little outpost here. Yeah, it's just a tent, man. It's just a tarp you can't give yourself.
Honor, duty above all.
You want to keep moving up toward the base. There are undead everywhere. Oh, no. So one of the events actually just flipped, did it? So assistance is requested. Troop movement is hindered. We need to defend the engineers while they establish a camp at this place here, the Eastern Colonnade. The problem is it's kind of swarmed with a ton of Risen, and I don't see any players around right now. Oh my god, and I'm getting shot by catapults. I guess they're actually technically Trebrite. Here's a player, and he's got a Thieves Guild with him. I wonder if he'll help us out. I'd really like to deal with this. So, let's see. I mean, some of these... The way that Guild Wars is designed is that the events can scale, right? So, in theory, you should be able to make good effort on your own. But if other people come, then everything starts getting bigger and more crazy and more epic scale. But you shouldn't feel punished from other allies being around. And that's all true. But when we get to ore and stuff like this... they can sort of have a minimum bar of number of players you'd need to have to do stuff. For normal players or normal builds like I am right now, if you're at the very end of the game and you've got loads of expansion, elite specializations and perfect gear and you're really good and you've looked online at different builds and stuff, you can probably solo a lot of stuff the devs don't anticipate you to. But from where I'm sitting right now, at our progression, you know, I hope we get more assistance. So yeah, there's engineers we need to revive, and then we can go from there. So, let's see where they are. Well, here's one. Let's res him. So, oh god. So, we've got to... This could be really bad, guys. It's not actually a long walk to Rennes, but doing it with the events, it might take a while. So, we got to res these dudes, and then they'll start building these. And if all it is a matter of time, I'm quite happy with this. So, let's see what this engineer does now that he's up. I'll defend him as best I can. If it's just a matter of time waiting for them to get in position and build stuff, I'm fine. If, however, the Risen can destroy what we're building as we build it, we could be in for a long one here. Luckily, another player in the area seems to have just revived another one of the engineers, so that's cool. Yeah, look, there's people around. Good, good. Here's the second one. So, what do we want to do? Do we want to keep our engineers alive, or do we want to res other ones? I'm not entirely sure right now. Looks like he's building a tent. Check it out. Look, look, look. I think that a lot more events and taking camps and things across the entire game could have been like this. But this is ore in a nutshell right now. Building stuff up. When you saw us with those initial invasions in the Straits, here, so this guy just got knocked out, so we're going to have to re-res that. All the construction of the buildings... Oh, no, he's a carrier. Oh, the construction of all the buildings kind of happened instantly, but this time it's a bit of a slower burn. I was really scared of that carrier there because I actually let go of the keyboard and mouse to gesture to you guys as I was speaking, even though I know you can't see. And yeah, that could have been kind of nasty. I don't know how much damage they do. We do have a lot of vitality as a necromancer. But there you go. So now he's fully built this tent and we get a bit of progress. The question is, will the Risen break that later? I guess we'll see. So the more engineers we have up, the better this will go. Also, there's so many bodies here. So I'm going to equip a Signet here that we showed off ages ago. The Signet of Undeath. Do you remember this? This gives us life force passively. And we'll be using this quite soon, just for what it's worth. But the active is it brings 3 people back from the dead in one cast. So I'll cast it on a ton of these bodies here, and we'll revive them all at once. So here, you see this? I'm going to cast here. Charging. This is great. We've got another player here, and voila! So you see this player's got an icon next to his name as well. That means he's a PvPer, so... He's obviously been to the end of the game and done a lot of stuff, and now he's come back to ore. But okay, cool. So now we've got a lot of allies. My god. That screen shake. That was pretty goddamn scary. It makes me think that mobs are spawning around us. No, they kind of are, actually. So Zaitan seems to be able to infuse enemies into this area through these fish heads.
Drive these Risen out and rebuild our defenses.
Cool, can we speak to some of these guys as this is going along?
The weak and helpless.
You want to help? Start by de-animating some of those recycled corpses, she says. This shaking is terrifying. Supply Sergeant Matimer?
Vigilance, honor, duty above all.
Okay, very nice, thank you. Anyone else want to say anything? Maybe we'll get more... Well, we'll definitely get more dialogue once we finish. So look, they're building the camp really fast now. And what's so cool now, guys, is this will push out and out across the map. By the end of the map, we'll have like hordes of allies and things that have gone all the way across, and we know it started with us, Carraflower, here alone at this camp doing this. It's a cool thought. I guess this is the last thing for them to all build, right?
Heat level 0.
Brilliant. Well, us alone at the very start. Then obviously we had the help, and that's pretty nice. Hey, we hear them cheering.
Ha! We've rebuilt the defenses along the perimeter. That should slow those Orion rot bags down.
For now. Let's hope those barriers hold until more supplies arrive.
Oh, yeah. I better go check our equipment.
Look how freaking big the Norn are, man. I was like, is that a Sylvari? No, it was a human. The undead just keep on coming. As soon as I kill one wave, a fresh crop of walking corpses takes their place. I have some supplies here I'd be willing to part with for a price. So this actually opens a vendor dialogue window, even though there's not an icon suggesting it. The base game does that a lot. She's also a repair merchant here as well, as you can see. But she doesn't really repair. She's only a
Vigilance, honor, duty above all.
We unlock a Karma Merchant with this guy who cares so much about honor. I can't spare much, but you'll need good equipment to make it out there. Let's see what you got. Well, that's the sell list. He has magical Orion lures. It's so magical the fish catch it. We've got light as a feather. No, that's a lie. This thing really is heavy. Okay, that's a great sword. A hammer. One of the finest hammers that the Vigil has to offer. Cannonade gloves. Keeping your hands clean in war can be difficult. Just fun little bits of flavor text. I'm really enjoying going and reading those now that we're later on in the game. We could have done it for any of the hearts the whole way here, but now I'm suddenly getting really into it. So you might think that that's it, right? Because we've captured this. And now what will basically happen, I think, is basic supply routes will go up and down here. But if we wait just a little bit, I think these characters will start talking and we'll move forward. Particularly this person here probably like bring a cape. The only thing you should be doing right now is watching our backs. There'll be plenty of time to talk once this war's over, but only if we survive. So let's see. Future updates will occur as troops enter Malkor's Leap. So actually, while we're waiting, what might be a really cool thing to do is to start looking at our builds. So last episode, I highlighted Spectrals. Really, only one of them in a big way. Maybe we can look a bit more at that now. So we don't just have the elites. Let's go back to Plague Lands as our elite here, which we showed off ages ago. This is a bit of Condi damage, and then a bit more, and then a bit more, and then a bit more in an AoE, right? Oh, I got in combat from that. Oh, of course, because that's a corruption and we bled ourselves, which then the minion took. That's kind of cool. Look how Bloodfiend has it. So, yeah, that was Lich Form, the elite. What about some of the other Spectrals? Well, here is a big one I want to show off, the Spectral Ring. So, had I shown you and unlocked this skill at the start of our adventure, the game balance would have been different, and the entire animation and stuff for this skill was different. But in a recent patch, this changed. Check it out. Spectral Ring, we can cast it at range, and it creates this ritual area that if we walk in, we get protection, but if any Risen walk in that, they get feared away, and fear is a condition. So what can we do with fear? Fear is like Necro's super cool thing that it can do a lot with. Well, let's go into our training, and you see we've already seen Spite, talked about that a lot. We've already seen Blood, talked about that a lot. We've seen Death, which was the minion-y line, talked about that a lot. There's two left, Curses and Soul Reaping. I'm going to give you Curses. So Spite is about flat damage. Curses is about Condi damage, all right? They're like your two offensive lines, and you can pick which flavor you go with. This time, let's look at this line. So, the Curses. I'm going to dig all the way in, and I'm going to equip it instead of Spite here, okay? So, I'll pick up Curses, and that, of course, comes with Minors and Majors. All I'm going to talk about for now are the permanent passives we get from being Curses now, and we'll play a bit of the game. So, now that we're Curses, instead of, like, getting Might when we hit things, as you saw on Spite and stuff, instead, it's our critical hits can inflict bleeding. So, no matter what we attack with, if we use this Locust Swarm, if the Locusts crit, they can bleed. And bleed, obviously, is a condition. So, that's pretty nice. And all of our bleeds last longer. So, now that we're Curses, if we look at Grasping Dead, the bleeding that we do on that is now hitting harder for longer, yeah? Next, you have Furious Demise. We get Fury whenever we go into Shroud. And we get extra precision. So this is about inflicting bleeds on crit. And this is about giving us crits.
Good to see another honest face.
So when we go into Shroud, we're now critting a lot more. And all of our Shroud stuff is bleeding more because of that, right? So you get a bit of synergy between the two. And then finally, Target the Weak, which is more crit chance, which is proccing the bleeds here. It's more crit chance for every condition on our opponent. So if I can get a really wide range, if I get Immobilize and Poison and Cripple and Torment and everything on there, my crit chance goes up super, super, super high. So now I'm permanently criticaling him, which means I'm stacking like an ungodly number of bleeds underneath, yeah? So that's the idea. It's all about like critting as hard as possible. So any condition damage crit builds are really fun here. Obviously, a critical hit to a power build is cool because it just does way more damage because of stuff like Ferocity. Well, this is where Condi crit can be a thing, yeah? There's also another little component of Target the Weak, which is that we straight up gain extra condition damage as we build Precision. 13% of all of our Precision also becomes condition damage, which again is why it's really cool to run a stat set. Like, do you remember the loot we got dropped for us last episode? Our inventory's a bit of a mess here. But one of the Orions we fought, here, dropped this. Look at this. It's got precision and Condi damage on it. So if I equip this, and we may as well, what that's going to do is give me the Condi damage, and then the precision, and then more Condi damage because of the precision, yeah? So, kind of nice. All right, there you go. That's the build craft. Let's see if this event goes anywhere and does anything, shall we? So here, while we wait, just for the next event, I've just gone down south towards Pagas again. I may as well show you the Melandru statue I was talking about and whatnot. So this is the POI I was looking at. It's called Ray and Bait, right? Over here, you'll see a huge zerg of players with a surveying banner. These are all gathering these trees, these saplings, right? Cypress saplings in a big ring around this old Melandru statue. You see this here? And the event I was talking about is nearby this. I think it's like slightly north or something. We'll find a statue. And if its eyes are glowing, and its eyes start glowing when the escort goes past it, you can kneel at it, and something cool will happen. And I kind of want to see if it's ready to trigger. Maybe somewhere near this? Here, I think it's this. I think it's this crypt here. Yeah. So you see the crypt. This is a really cool asset. I'm really happy that I'm coming and showing this here. You see these skulls underneath? You don't really see a coffin like this anywhere really in the game. And you see that white glow behind their eyes. That's only like that because of the pack that moved through earlier. And none of the players that were escorting it way back when, before I was recording this video, who knows when, they didn't know about this Easter egg. But so here, if I kneel at this deathly necromantic altar because Karras is so interested... Oh, what's this?
Who disturbs my rest?
You get this wraith here called Karras the Undying, who I don't think does anything particularly crazy, but it's a dynamic event that, you know, we get extra karma from. He's got ravens with him, the ravens of Karras. I'm not sure necessarily what the devs are referencing with this, and no one's ever asked them in an interview either that I know about. What's going on here. You'll see he summons quite a lot. Obviously, the more players we have, the better. I'm going to try and not die. He's actually hitting us really hard. But yeah, so if anyone ever does get a chance to speak to the devs or an upcoming interview opportunity or something, see if you... I mean, you'd have to pull the right person's ear, though, whoever helped make these ore maps. It's very, very, very weird to me. But it's a cool little event, and he's actually resustaining here, too, because he steals health. So I'm going to try and keep poison on him with our skill, too. And I'm going to hide in Shroud as much as possible because I feel really actually kind of unsafe. Our minions are dying, so hiding in Shroud while they're dead allows me to leave Shroud and very quickly resummon here, you see? I guess the other problem is, in truth, we have this resurrection skill still on us. Here, let's cast the Fear Wall, and I'm going to run through the Fear Wall and watch as he tries to cross the threshold to get to us. If he does. Actually, I think he just turned around to hit someone else. Alright, there we go. He goes down. This is cool, though. We got loot from him here. A Vial of Powerful Blood. This is the top tier blood in the game. That's a really rare drop to get. But now that we're fighting level 80 stuff, we can get it. Look at that. It requires level 400 in the crafting disciplines, which is very top. The crafting discipline inside of the game I haven't really shown too much of in this LP, right? We showed some of it much earlier. But this is the very, very max tier. When the game came out, this would have been super, super rare drop that was good on the TP to sell. I'm going to deposit materials up here, though, to create a bit of space. And so, yeah, there you go. He also dropped a torch for us, which I cannot equip as a necromancer, I'm afraid. Maybe one day, guys. Maybe one day. But for now, Karras looking at that and thinking, what the hell is this? So, yeah, there you go. Let's go back up to... the outpost we just reclaimed and see what we got. There's a researcher here. I wonder, what do they say? The other Dermot Priory scholars said we have to remember that the Risen down here aren't the people they once were, but it's not easy. How did you get assigned to this post? Actually, I volunteered. My mother was a Dermot Priory scholar who did a lot of genealogy work, concentrating on the Orions. She found out we had ancestors here at the time of the Cataclysm. Oh, this is kind of cool. In the world building, before the game came out, the devs kind of talked about how ashamed Orions were to realize that they were descended from here because it's such a haunted and sour place to talk about in polite conversation. She found out we had ancestors here at the time of the Cataclysm. The Cataclysm, says Karras. The magic that the king's advisor, Vizier Kilbron, used to defeat the invading Char forces. The same magic that caused ore to sink into the Bay of Sirens. Or the Sorrow's Bay, as it was renamed. Yeah, the Bay of Sirens. I have not heard that phrase for a long time. So why did you request this post? Well, according to the records that survived, my ancestors were farmers on ore. Right here on Ray and Bait. It was a cooperative farm with several families working the land. So, some of the Risen down there might be your family. The official Priory position is that there are no people down there, just dragon minions infesting their remains. But I'm finding it hard not to see people, farmers, family, in that valley. And what if they attack you? Then I'd know they were dragon minions, because family wouldn't attack family, and I'd destroy those risen creatures without blinking. Comforting to know, I guess. That's an awesome NPC. That encapsulates, like, huge sways of the themes and, like, general plot points that we've been dealing with the whole way through the zombie plot, basically. These freaking dragon shadows, man. That's awesome.
Here come the Risen again. Defend the camp.
Alright, okay, so I've been waiting here for however long. And obviously they just said that we're under attack. Okay, that's fine. So I'm going to have to defend this. My fear is that this is going to be tuned to
Protected.
lots of... Like, look at this Zerg of undead. My fear is that this is going to be tuned to a scale for lots of players. And I'm not going to be able to do it alone. So what I'm actually going to do here is in map chat, I'm going to ping event, please. Please help. And I'm going to hope people come. So there's going to be 4 waves of Risen. And I believe once we've defended this outpost, we got a chance for it to progress. So essentially what's going on here, guys, is there's an escort to go to the next town over, which is Rennes. But the event to take us to the next town over won't necessarily happen if it's fine at the end of when you capture this at that moment, if that makes sense. Basically, if players have gone through the map non-linearly, the next event won't immediately schedule up until this event finishes and we successfully defend it. So that's kind of the idea. Here we got a steel chest with a black pearl in it. Lovely. And look, it looks like a couple of players have actually arrived. So this guy's arrived with a commander tag, which again we talked about with wild bosses and stuff. So hopefully everyone will see that there's a tag here and we'll get some safety and some defense. That would be really, really, really sweet. So here you can see playing a Condi build, just how rapidly damage comes through as well here. I'm going to just create a new tab called clean that's empty so that we don't spam that up. There you go. Okay, cool. Oh, God. So here's an A-bomb, right? So our quest is actually to figure out where A-bombs are being created. It's kind of cool to see that Zaitan's sending them out on the road right next to it. Okay, he's got a ton of frenzy and he almost one-shot us there. Okay, I'm leaving. Bye. I don't want to be anywhere near him. Somebody range him down, please. Do we get any siege? We do. We built a Treb, right? Is the Vigil Engineer firing it? Can I fire this? That would be so cool. There are obviously Treb controls in the game. I guess not. He's shooting it rapidly, though. Look at that. Jesus Christ. They're not very big pellets of ammunition, are they? But he's firing them pretty fast. How many players have we got here? A couple. 3 waves remaining. Apparently, we've cleared the first one, but people are starting to die. Luckily, I still have the Signet on, right? So I'm going to Signet of Undeath here. And AoE res. Yeah! So anyway, two waves left. I'm just going to play this through, and hopefully it doesn't get too bad. You see more players flooding in here and picking up the slack as the NPCs die. All right, 1 more wave left. Now, obviously, the thing here is as well, if we fail this, the whole thing will fall and we'll be kicked right back to the start of the map. And we'll have to reclaim it and get the engineers in and all that stuff. So here we go, the last wave. This is a lot of damage here. You'll see that there's a blue ring on the outside. The point is, I think if all players and NPCs are dead and it's only Risen left inside this, then the Risen win. But as long as we can survive in here and keep some of our allies alive in here, it shouldn't flip against us. When the blue line turns red and the bar starts going down, that's them claiming the territory for their own. So we kind of don't want that. You'll see they're breaking something. No, they broke our Treb and they replaced it with their own catapult. That's kind of terrifying, actually. And there's 2 A-bombs on the last phase. Come on, Pact, you can do it. Tran's counting on us. Hey, and it's done.
Looks like they finally run out of bodies.
Thank the gods. I'm exhausted.
Rest for a while, then. You'll need all your strength when they come back.
So good, with that done, I think these guys up ahead will now look for the escort. So play the waiting game again and see what comes up. All right, I've waited and waited and waited and waited. There will be several adventures through the map. Maybe we'll catch this next event in one of them, but it's getting late, all right? So I'm going to move on. I'm guessing what's going on is that the next area is actually safe and they don't need the reinforcements right now. So yeah, let's just move along the Valley of Lys, and as you see, as we move up the road here, you'll find a second meta event triggers now to replace the original. This is the Road to Ruin, and troop movement across the Valley of Lys requires no further assistance, but updates will occur as people come across. So here we can actually see there's a player with a golem here. So yeah, I'm going to follow the road along, and out on the right, you see this enormous structure here. You remember that big glowy energy-laden area in the Straits of Devastation that everyone was looking towards, this unfogged place, the thing we heard about, the Sanctuary, the Temple of Balthazar we never went to? Well, that giant structure over there is another one of them, to a different one of the gods, and indeed goddess, Lyssa, and that's why we've seen so much to do with her in this area. Keita Mance nearby, the village of Rennes we're headed to, and even, you know, the Road to Ruin, even talking about the Valley of Lys as we're traveling through right now. Lys is such a cool goddess, and her sanctuary, her temple, is exactly where this next story step will actually be taking place. So there's 2 different things to do there. 1 is the story step. 2 is the open world meta that can occur there when the pack tries to reclaim it. We're only going to see the actual story step so far today. Here in Aura as well, by the way, the gathering changes. I've wanted to talk to you guys about this a million times. Like, you can find ghost peppers and stuff around. So lots of rare materials and things start appearing. We can try and pick these up, but Caraflower doesn't have high enough level sickles and gathering tools on her, so it just becomes ruined. But what that is on the floor there is an Omnom berry that if we get the right tool, we can harvest. Omnom berries were used at launch in the creation of all really the coolest, best looting foods you could find, and were worth a lot of money. So if you ever hear about Omnom berries, it's kind of a jokey sounding name for a food. They're very famous within this franchise now, and it really starts here in Aura where Omnom berries were growing on the floor. So yeah, here you can see. All right, we are at Rennes. This is it. There's a waypoint up ahead, and it's being attacked, as you can see. There's an event going on to defend the packed staging area. And I guess this makes sense. Look, there's a ton of players around. That's why my event wasn't triggering. Because all these players have been here defending it successfully. I shouldn't feel bad about that fact. I just want to show you all the content, I guess. So yeah, we can move in, and yeah, we got to keep this safe. Here you'll find new varieties of Risen. These are the Risen Knights. They'll start becoming more and more common as we go deep in.
Keep it orderly.
Who exactly the Risen Knights are, how they're created and whatnot, will be a bit of a minor mystery for us to think about as we play forwards. You see, this guy's blocking a ton. Yeah, it looks like there's a lot of players here defending this. And Rennes itself, we're at it really right now. Aura is very weird to me in that I love the general vibe of it. I love the enormous buildings. I love the sense we're in a ruined civilization. I love the place names, the Garden of Ilya. Here you go. So Ilya, you remember I said Liss and Issa?
That'll teach you to mess with the superior intelligence of the pact.
Well, here we've got Ilya, being Liss and Ilya here being represented as place names in the area. We can get even more blood. Is my inventory full again that quick? Jesus Christ.
Share their spirits with me?
I got some Black Citadel whiskey.
How can you even think about getting intoxicated? They'll be back.
Yes, they will be back.
That's refreshing.
All the more reason we should exploit our window of quiet.
So these guys are going to get drunk now that they've successfully saved it. I love all those things about Aura. I think they're brilliant. However, the one thing I would say, when it comes to really specific individual landmarks, it does kind of fail to deliver to me. Like, this is the Ruins of Rennes. We heard all those beautiful stories about it in the past, and we've heard Lys's scriptures. This is where she lived among people. It doesn't really feel like a village, just does it? It's just like a flat bit of ground that the Pact have now built a base on. But if we imagine, you know, we rewind the clock a couple of months before the Pact progressed here, what would we be looking at? Just seafloor, essentially? And maybe that's realistic, because, you know, hundreds of years at the bottom of the ocean kind of would make it, you know, remove all wood and whatnot here. But it means there's not much discernible to really pull at. So we're at a cool place, and I feel like the magic and the history in that sense when we're dealing with this, but not too much else. You see there's lots of launch pads, by the way, to just keep barreling through the map if we want to. Anyway, it's a cool event here. We saw the defense at least. These guys talking about getting drunk is cool as well, because this was the goddess of illusion and, like, altering your mental state and minds and stuff. So I think, I don't know, is this a deliberate little nod from the devs to have the Pact in the area talking about getting drunk? I don't know. I can't help but feel like maybe it is.
You gain nothing.
The vigil here is to keep last week's moldy leftovers from crawling out of the water. The undead got no business here, not while I'm kicking. Okay, cool, that's right. What else we got? Well, we got a vendor, we got a heart person. This is Lightbringer Zyke. Look at how cool that guy is. We need to, like, have a human in the Order of Whispers. I need one of those on my account. That's so cool. We've been stationed here to scout the Temple of Lissa. It has a great historic significance, not to mention a cache of magical artifacts. Well, you got anything? Well, there's Rennes trading coins. They used to use these to trade goods a long time ago. Sometimes it's easy to forget there used to be people. You got a longbow. At the local central outpost, our fortifications are strong, but they must also scout at a distance. Rennes mantles. We're under constant attack, so we have to be constantly on our guard. Pauldrons. I guess that's got the same flavor text. So yeah, and here, look, a Mithril harvesting sickle. This is for level 45 and won't give us Omnom berries. We need, like, an even higher tier than that, I guess, as we go forwards. It doesn't seem like anyone is here purely just to deliver dialogue to us, but that's cool. This is not the only aspect of this camp, though, as well. The story is going to take us to another couple of tents just down here. So up there and up that ramp, that is to the Lissa Meta itself. And as I walk towards it, you'll see. Right now we're in range of the road to Ruin. But as we walk up here, it should flip to another meta there, the Cathedral of Eternal Radiance. And right now, it simply says that the temple's power has been interrupted. Well, we'll go up there in the story now. So there's actually two big things to do with the gods in this area right now that you guys should understand about. There is the epic, the massive cathedral up there, all right, for one of the main big storied gods. But also next to it is a much more nondescript, undeady looking place. And you might think everything here undead equals Zhaitan, right? Well, not in this situation. So just remember that way above us up there, if you do a very cool jumping sequence, you can get up to a vista, which you actually saw on the last episode. It was one of the vistas at the start of the last episode, which gives you a really good look at that undeady area. But we'll learn a bit about it here.
How am I supposed to work now?
The troops love my brew. It's good for morale.
It's foul. Go take it somewhere else.
Come on! There's plenty to go around.
So this Norn has made a brew. There's an event here to gather berries. This is a bottle of standard research issue aged wine.
I'll be seeing you.
And these guys basically do an event in the area.
Salutations.
No time to chat. Lots of research to do. Okay, that's cool. Well, this is where Trajan's going to meet us. So let's do it. The Ossuary of Unquiet Dead. The last episode in this act. I love the sense of awe that we get there. Big kind of open fields. It's not really how it feels in game in that concept art. But okay, hey Trajan. How's it going, man? By the way, I've re-equipped Corrosive Poison Cloud, if you guys remember. Another one of the corruptions. Does lots of poison in the area. That's condition damage. We'll be looking at that later. Also blocks projectiles, if you recall, which is an important facet of the skill.
The goal is to stop Zhaitan's reinforcements. Our target is a Cathedral of Eternal Radiance on Or's north coast. It's essentially a factory that manufactures Zhaitan's horde. I intend to shut it down, and I'm sending in a strike team to do just that. We don't know exactly how it functions, so I'm joining the team to make sure we have whatever rituals are required to get the job done. We'll pick up reinforcements on the way. Commander, you'll lead the strike team and protect me while I perform the rituals. Any questions?
None, Marshal. It's long past time we forced Zhaitan to fight its own battles instead of hiding behind minions. Ready when you are.
Whoa, so we cut off a big supply line, and now we're continuing to go for the throat. I love the lighting in this tent right now, actually. So different NPCs around since we're in the story. We'll start in the Temple of Lissa. That's where the flow of undead monstrosities originates. So you might be wondering, why is undead creation here at the Lissa Temple? And the devs have a beautiful answer for this. The world building expressed here is 10 out of 10, guys. Trust me. What happens once we reach our goal? Well, I know a ritual that will show us actual Aurian funeral rites. I've studied these rites, but viewing them as they happen will provide valuable clues on how to proceed. So there was kind of a hint that maybe we saw Aurians before in the Manse, but they were just illusions. Well, here we'll see something even better. What kind of clues? We'll be able to follow a single corpse through the preparation process. That will lead us to whatever Zhaitan's minions are doing to convert the current flow of corpses into undead monsters. So here, I think what they're saying is this Elder Dragon that predates the gods' existence here, he's looked at what the gods left over and what the Aurians left over in this sunken nation, and he's tapped into it. So in a weird way, Zhaitan is lucky that all these facilities were sort of dumped over where he was asleep, and he wakes up and he just sees this stuff that he could just mass out. It's kind of cool that he's, you know, it's not all just his own stuff, but he's been intelligent enough to repurpose what the Aurians were doing. Does that make sense? So our first objective, to gather additional pack soldiers along the way. Well, that's just going to be up this short little clip here.
Follow us. We're on a vital mission, and we need all the soldiers we can muster.
Alright, seems pretty clear. They don't even say anything to us. They'll just silently follow us. I aim to keep you all alive as we move through here, Marines. There's a risen chicken. That is kind of scary to see, given the last mission we did. There was another one over here, but these guys actually got one shot. I guess we're just way better than sniping them with a rifle, as we saw Galena tried before. Okay, so let's move on up. I wonder if Johan's dialogue updated after that. No, it didn't. Okay, so what do we have? Well, a fight going on. Some preservers and a corruptor fighting against several of our allies. Arcanists, Crusaders.
Form up on the commander. We must search the temple.
Okay. I like how he's saying for them to all form up on us, you know. Not necessarily him. We're the bigger fighter. And here are the Cathedral of Eternal Radiance discovered. So the Pact have dealt with, like, the initial issues here and that big meta that you can do in the open world, it seems. So it's kind of shut down right now, and we can explore and we can learn a bit more about it. But look at this. That there is an enormous sculpture to Lissa. That's the twin goddesses up there. Exactly as Malcor has envisioned and sculpted it, and we see passed down through the generations, even to this day in Divinity's Reach. Right there in the center with these huge archways. In just this vast area. This is probably, in terms of pure design, my favorite, like, meta event area in the whole game. Just because you get zergs of players charging along these huge walkways, going to do different objectives, and then flooding into the middle later and stuff. I guess that'll be a story for a bit later. But yeah, we're just going to go into the center here, in the very middle, the focal point of all this, like, ridiculous, like... So you look at the scale of this construction, it's like, how could they build this? You can maybe imagine the Norn building enormous stuff, and you can maybe imagine the Ossuary with Ratasum doing all this really impressive stuff. But humans, hundreds of years ago, how did they do that? Well, they were Orions, and they had all this, you know, capability.
By the pale tree, they're stitching that beast together from body parts.
So we come to a place in the middle here called the Altar of Lies, and Trahearne sees what's going on up there. It's a really cool little bit of detail the devs have put in, but we have an incomplete abomination. And it actually has this effect on it called incomplete. The icon for that is the old monster skill icon from Guild Wars 1, which is essentially used as a placeholder here in the sequel, and you kind of commonly see. This abomination is still under construction and unable to attack. I like this because mousing over actually gives you a little bit of extra information. And yeah, we see that there's a risen surgeon and another risen surgeon and another risen surgeon building it. So Orions had a concept of surgeons and surgery, I suppose. Were they like maybe morticians as well? Anyway, so yeah, they're trying to rebuild it. And it's kind of a special thing for the A-bomb. You can actually see it like languish there, just sort of breathing very slowly. One of your only opportunities to really get up close and look at the details of them because they're here in this fight. Trahearne and Co can obviously deal with the surgeons, and that's perfectly fine. It'd be kind of cool if this was a big sequence, but yeah. So we can take it out. And I guess we're not going to give them an opportunity to fully build this. We're just going to break it, even though it can't fight back. Sorry, Mr. Abomination. Oh, no, he stood up, but he can't move. Or attack or anything. Oh, he's swinging very slowly. Hey, buddy. Oh, he's actually getting stronger. Oh, my God. I'm actually surprised he can fight now. Wow. Anyway, down he goes.
Once, the Orions interred their dead here. Now Zaitan uses this place to craft abominations.
So...
Stand by. My ritual will show us how the ancient priests went about their grim tasks.
Ooh, I'm excited about this. So here we can see him channel Caladbolg, use various abilities here, drop them down on the ground.
Before ore sank, this was the final resting place of Lissa's most loyal followers. The deceased were brought here so the officiants could perform the appropriate funeral rites.
So that's the Lissa connection. And it makes a lot of sense that people would come to Lissa to deal with grief, you know, powerful emotions. So I think that was really inspired from the writers to realize that connection, you know, that Lissa might have something to say about funerals and people overcoming loss. You know, that it wasn't all just about the god of death.
We have to follow this ancient path to see where the bodies of Lissa's faithful ended up.
All right, I'm more than happy to. So yeah, this mission is, at least at the start, going to be a game of us following this ancient Orion. I guess the idea is this is a vision of the past, right? So they're carrying this wrapped up body as they move through. Her outfit as well, for what it's worth, she looks kind of Listen. If you look at the sides of her head, she kind of has other faces coming out of the sides, which is very similar to interpretations of Lissa we saw in Guild Wars 1 Nightfall, when you could channel her and become the avatar of Lissa, and you kind of had these multiple faces. This is pretty cool. And she's beautiful, and she kind of swaggers along. Those hips, guys, look at those hips swaying away. So yeah, you'll see there's this big red light here as well. What that's kind of doing is indicating that it's under enemy control, and that's the main place we want to go to. The devs talked a lot when the game came out about telegraphing events and things from far away, but not much of it made in. Like fires in Queensdale showing you events far off. That was one of the earliest things I said to you in this series. Here, at least, they're doing a little bit of it. And you'll see some of these other areas around this giant ring, this giant area will be something that we do have. So look at these point of interest. So we were at the Altar of Lies. And now, why is Lissa so associated with lies here, right? Like, Abaddon you think of as the god of secrets, but Lissa's lying just as much. You know, she feels like such a special case. Anyway, this here is the Song of Liss as we move over. And I just get giddy thinking about all the different ways to interpret it. So here we've been held up by this Risen Knight. So again, these are really powerful minions we'll find in the later areas. And what's going on right now is you see this is a giant circle. The entire time that we're in this mission, these guys are going to be very slowly patrolling in a counterclockwise direction. And because of that, we'll often have to stop and fight them. Because Trahearne and co are going to get distracted in that fight instead of moving up. Which is a bit of a shame, but hey. Alright, hello everybody. What's going on here? Looks like there's more surgeons and people just dealing with stuff. So there's a risen priestess here of Lyssa. So once upon a time devoted to Lyssa, but now that corpse is devoted to Zhaitan, rebirthed by him. Well, let's see what we do. So going to Shroud, if we're going to start looking at condition damage and curses, suddenly Tainted Shackles is really powerful. Does a lot of torment. Puts Immobilize out, and that Immobilize counts as another condition for higher crit chance and whatnot. Because we might not have it in many other easy access places on our build. So yeah, let's take the Risen Priestess of Lyssa out. I'll watch our combat log to see if she does any interesting attacks. She's kind of auto-attacking like a Necro, but the skill is called Dark Halting. Kind of a weird idea for a skill. There's no player ability called Dark Halting. Again, I wonder so often if these were early profession design ideas that just never made it in the end. Let's get our Wraith back up who can haunt. He's kind of the other ghostly kind of thing, having a thing that can haunt and can be a Wraith. A bit like a spectral minion, it feels like almost, you know. And down goes the Risen Priestess. She's taken a while because we're using conditioned stuff and traits without having conditioned gear right now. But we'll fix that as we go forwards.
Has thorns, and here they are.
So next part of the ritual.
The first stage of the rite is grief. The loved ones of the deceased played an integral role. Here, they were encouraged to express the pain and rage they felt over the passing. They had to release these potentially destructive emotions before the rites could proceed.
So that was at the Song of Lyssa. People were encouraged to be angry and to thrash out and to let their rage be known.
The funeral rites aren't done. I must perform my ritual at each key location.
Okay, so this is key location 1. Did your dialogue update at all, Trahearne? My god, he's... Relax, man. Wait, I just want to say hi.
Well?
This is one of the most complex and powerful Orien death rituals. I'll need to perform different stages of it at several locations within the temple. We'll be fighting the Risen every step of the way. True, it's less than ideal, but we need to clear these platforms of undead so that I can safely perform it. Is the ritual really necessary? I'm afraid so. This place is steeped in Lyssa's magic and Orien necromancy. We have to tread very carefully. I believe this is the only way to learn what we need to know. And once we learn it, then we strike. Exactly. Once we determine exactly what the Oriens did with the bodies and where they took them, we can find the mechanism Zhaitan uses to craft its monstrosities and wreck it. Okay, Marshall, let's go. So he's kind of the brains on this operation. So you see the ghost got a bit of a head start on us now. The idea is just to follow it. You're not going to miss anything here, guys, but I'm going to speed this up because killing these Risen Knights might take a while. So yeah, see you in a sec. Okay, so these fights are taking about 1,000,000 years. I've just been looking at my gear and swapped our dagger here for this Nightmare one, which I don't really remember where we got or when we got it, but it's level 60, which is a higher level than the last one. So hopefully we get to do a bit more damage. It's still not necessarily condition, and we lose our Sigil of Bloodlust from it, but it should be alright. It's just these knights are taking a really long time to kill. There's also a pretty dangerous abomination we just had to wade through, and there might be some more up ahead. So I'm actually kind of concerned. Our gear is only around level 50 or so. Let's as well, I suppose, if I'm getting concerned, look at curses again, and let's start assigning some of these traits. First, I'm just going to pick up this one. Very simple, Terrifying Descent. Whenever I fear someone, I also torment them. Very, very easy. There are some other choices here, which is send conditions on us to our enemies. But we are not really going to be fighting against people who put conditions on us. And the other one here is whenever we blind someone, we can chill them too. But chill doesn't matter too much because the enemies are going to die so fast that lowering their cooldown speed doesn't matter too much. So yeah, just whenever we fear, we're going to inflict torment. Really simple. It's just extra damage. So like if we equip a staff now, when I press that Mark 5, we get to actually do torment damage. When I cast Doom here, this spell now actually does torment damage too. So cool thing to think about. Right, so it looks like the path's pretty clear. Everybody all good? I think so. The ghost must have got here a while ago now. So now we're at another place. This is Mirror Bay. And yeah, by the way, look at the waters. This is where Malkor threw... Oh, I almost feel a little bit dizzy just going over the edge there. I'm so scared of dying. This is where Malkor threw himself from. Well, in this region of the world. This is the northern coast. And our first glimpse of it, even though it kind of defines a ton of Malkors. We heard the pack talking about water before. We walked over this bridge earlier. I never really stopped to look at it for you all. But yeah, there is a ton of water and coastline here. We're getting to see it now. So anyway, number 2. Last time they were letting out their rage. What do they let out this time? Oh, who knows? So here, I'll drop this corrosive poison cloud and my elite on the guy. So now we're doing lots of poison and basically every Condi in the game almost. Just rolling in this area, and none of their projectiles can land either, so everyone's going to be nice and safe. Let our minion get in. Should be good. Here, what I can do as well is drop the fear wall, cast Doom, which will torment, and then because he gets feared across the threshold, he should get feared a second time. Or maybe not. That didn't seem to quite work. But the theory is there, and in other modes, you know, where they walk a lot, that can be a thing. This guy's ranged, so he's just going to stand there, and he's not necessarily going to go into the wall too much. But yeah. Brilliant. Trahan? I like how we get such happy, like, powerful victory music every time. Look, his ritual is giving me stability and retaliation as well.
This next step was largely ceremonial, but was observed by rich and poor alike. They offered a valuable gift in an attempt to persuade the priests to resurrect the dead. Naturally, the priests refused, but the act of offering and accepting rejection remained a part of the rite.
So that's a really cool line of dialogue there as well, right?
Almost finished. There should be only one platform remaining.
And it's kind of hinting at to where the story's about to go. He said naturally the priest refused. But here's the funny thing. As we learned in Guild Wars 1, the original god of death, Doom, who was around before Grenth and thus was worshipped here in Orr for a while, Doom, he felt that death was final and that resurrection shouldn't be a thing. But when he got replaced by Grenth had a different outlook. He believed that resurrection was okay. So what Trahan just said there, that the Orions doing this ritual naturally refuse to revive, what does that mean? Is he talking about during the Grenth days or the Doom days? It actually sounds like he's talking about the Doom days, doesn't it? And we don't really know much about Doom. We know that there's 6 big cathedrals. We're in one of them. This is the Cathedral of Lissa. But are we going to find a cathedral to Grenth? Or are we going to find a cathedral to Doom? And what's Doom's relevance to all of this? Does Zhaitan care more about Grenth and Doom, since they're the undeady necromancy gods, and he's the undeady necromancy elder dragon? So is there more of a stake going on here? Well, those connections are about to be very much of a big thing in just a few moments. And that's a cool little hint there from Trahan, I think. So yeah. And I like it, by the way, culturally, and just the idea of that aspect of the ritual, that people would beg and plead. You know, you've got anger, you've got denial here, and you've got bargaining. What do we have next? Well, the third and final one. This one's blue, by the way. So, hold on. There was a red one. This one was green, and this one's blue. I guess it's not color-coded to show that Risen are here versus Risen are not here. I wonder what the colors are supposed to mean. Anyway, we've kind of ran ahead of the ghost here, but I think it should be okay. One final Risen priestess. Let's see what she's got.
Fast as the wind.
And when we come here in the open world, what we find... So here, look at all the torment we can stack up with the 5 and the fears and everything. What we'll find is the events and what's happening at each of these areas is totally different, and it's a different story that the devs are telling. So one skill I could have on my utility skills right now is Epidemic, which would let me spread all these condis. Look at that, 20 bleeds. You see what I mean about the crits just rolling up as a baseline? I could spread all of them onto the enemies in the area, and we could just wipe. You can take a tanky thing as your main target, and then spread all the condis to weaker things in the area and sort of blow them up for free. Really cool skill. I might put that on in a second. Yeah, let's get rid of our last minion, since we're slowly moving away from that if we're going to a condi kind of build here throughout the course of today's episode.
I am dead.
But obviously we're in combat right now, so we can't. Let's take out this priestess, and that's the last part of the ritual unfolded, at least.
Well done.
This rose has thorns. Here they are!
Finally, the family faced the inevitable reality that their loved one was gone. Here they were encouraged to mourn and to beseech Lissa to ease their pain. They prayed to their goddess for relief and to watch over the deceased in the mists. Return to the center platform. That's where their rite will end.
We hear so much about how, like, Sylvari think of death and how Norn think of death and how Asura think of death. This is one of the only places we get to hear a lot about how humans think of death in this franchise. And it's actually from the Orien perspective, not necessarily Crichton or whatever.
Remain strong.
Here, this guy's blocking again, so I want to use the Warhorn to stop him from doing that. It's kind of annoying, to be honest. A lot of the implementation of this stuff in Ore is frustrating sometimes. Like, when you use Whale of Doom to unblockably daze, that should stop them blocking, but it's not coded like that, so they just keep blocking anyway, so it doesn't really mean anything. And they evade a lot as well, which means that knights are kind of frustrating enemies. Dangerous enemies in a way, I guess, if we want to be kind about it. All right, back to the center. And by the way, I love how at each of the altars, the ghost that's gone to do the rite that's been represented was different. Like, it was a noble here, and it was just kind of a generic grieving woman here, and it was like a generic grieving man, I think, at the start. Maybe a poor man at the start. It's kind of cool that they put that detail in there. So, what is going on here? I forgot about this bit. There's like 100 risen eagles here. This is creepy. The idea is what? That they're carrying birds feasting on that A-bomb that we left to rot here a second ago? All the pieces of the body just sort of strewn about. You can imagine if Guild Wars 2 wasn't like a PG-13 kind of experience, right? And it was a bit gory. This would be a bit of a bloodbath here as people... What's the name of that? Like a necromancer that deals specifically with corpse construction. I can't remember what it's called. It's in a lot of other RPGs. Anyway, you get those eagles there. They're only there for the flavor and the fun of it. Okay, here we go. Last moment. Or maybe there was supposed to be a whole battle sequence. They just die really quickly. I like it in any way, though.
With the funeral rites complete, the deceased moved on to the ossuary. Next, they would prepare and inter the body. Ah, see there? They're taking the body down through that hidden door to the crypt below. That must be where Zaitan's minions are creating new risen soldiers. And that's where we need to be.
Alright, here we go. So, we've learned, and now we're going to fight. The inner workings of Zaitan's ossuary must be in the chambers below. Keep your guard up. The worst dangers lurk down there too. So, the way this is written is really kind of weird, to be honest. Because he says below, like there's a door or something. There is no door. We're not, like, in a building. Like, I don't know what the script kind of imagined this area would be like. Perhaps on paper, the writers were imagining that this instance would be in a totally different area, and then they ended up just overlapping it with the Cathedral meta event. But there's no door really anywhere near us that Trohan could see. The door is all the way over there. Do you see that hole? We entered from this ramp that we're following here, and the ghost is walking towards it. We need to go all the way around the right and into that room there, which was closed a second ago, and now it's opened. So yeah, the dialogue's a little bit off with that. But yeah, this is where they're taking the corpses. We're going to rush on ahead of the ghost and just assume we have amazing eyes. Now, we have to be careful here as well, because all those knights that have been patrolling, they're still a threat, and there's a new wave of mobs, as you can see here. And we have to walk counterclockwise into them now. So, let's see what we've got. We'll daze that or try to... Oh, he teleported. Oh, my God. Okay, that's kind of scary. Luckily, we've got quite the packed crew with us. To help us on this part of the adventure, at least. So, yeah, we got to get through all of those squires that are defending the ossuary there. All right, here. So this is pretty bad. There's an A-bomb coming. I think it's like a special kind of A-bomb. So let's look at this model really carefully. This could be really dangerous. He's got like a long mouth. Can you see that? Yeah, look. He definitely looks different to other A-bombs, doesn't he? Look at the skull on his face. So anyway, skill-wise, if this is like the one I was fighting earlier, can be very dangerous. Obviously stacks Frenzy, and he's got a lot of targets to stack Frenzy off of. Look at that shockwave he just sent. My God, I gotta pull back. I gotta pull right back. The problem here, if I do this and run away, is everyone's gonna be dead. We can kill another knight at least. That'll be a thing. It's just fighting the knights along with the A-bomb's kind of a scary thing. And we aggro some squires as well. The problem I've got right now also is my heal. I don't know whether I want to keep the minion up for damage, for health over time, or I want to just activate it. Right now, we've healed up quite a lot for him, so that's good. Okay, so I got a lot of Shroud, but I think that with 25 Frenzy, I'll pretty much get one shot if I go near that. Weakness is good, because it means he won't crit us, but I still think it's going to be a lot of damage. So here, we got a lot of Condi. I can Epi to spash the Condis over onto that Knight, but the Knight's really tanky too. It's only us left now. Look how tanky that A-bomb is. Does he get tankier the more Frenzy he builds? I've just got to run away. I don't think there's anything I can do. So here, Hopefully he breaks aggro. It looks like it. Oh, God, he's not even breaking aggro. My God. Oh, no, and he's immune to the fear. He knows no fear. When he leaves combat, he should lose his frenzy, I'm pretty sure, right? So that's a thing, definitely. Oh, Carraflower, we know you're strong, but these are some of the A-bombs right from the... I like the idea that the devs put the really strong A-bombs, like the strongest ones mechanically in the game, right here in this mission. I don't know if there are stronger ones later coming up. Probably are. Right, what do we want to use skill-wise here? Okay, let's put on Signet of Spite here, another skill we want to look at. We basically cast it. It passively gives us power, which is good for power builds, but we can actively use it to spread a ton of condies. Look at all those condies there. Loads of them. And remember, our Scepter 3 gives loads of torment based on how many condies were already on the target. So I want to cast that on him. Amazingly, he just blocked, though, during their durations, so he kind of actually countered me with that block in a really cool way. So we'll kill this knight. Hopefully that's all of them dealt with. And then we're going to have to go on a bit of a res spree, so I'll see you guys again in a second. This is kind of amazing right now. What you can see in the background is the A-bomb is walking towards us. I guess he is just like the knights. I guess there's a ring of knights and one super scary, dangerous A-bomb that wanders around with them. So I've got to kill this guy before the A-bomb gets to me. And then what I'm going to do is, knowing that he's patrolling like this, okay. So it was really bad luck that we got him by the door, basically. As he patrols, what I'm going to do is sneak around, and we will leave him the hell alone. I could probably kill him alone if he doesn't stack up any frenzy. It's just building up on all these guys. So there you go. We now have time for him to do a full circuit to get through that door and do this one fight. I think we'll be okay. 3 more. Let's put the poison cloud on them and get in. I'm holding my elite. Since we didn't fight that A-bomb, I could have elited the A-bomb actually, but we'll use plague lands on any really big end of mission boss here. So here we go, the door, and through we go. Hope you're right about this, Traherne. Another production center of undead will soon fall to the pact, and our kind of cool strike force here actually. Again, I think there's so many weird little fan fictions I think of as I play this game. One of them would be a cool fan fiction of like just one of the characters that's here in this mission and their interpretation of what we're doing. That day they got to fight with the commander and did like this really ridiculous thing going behind enemy lines and dealing with this ossuary, trying to take it out. So yeah, cool. We can clean him out. So, by the way, you remember that vista I talked about before? The vista is entered from up here. Can you see right under here, this sneaky hole, right? And look how hard that is to see, right? All of this wall is solid rock, all of it, all the way down. But here, and that door's usually shut, there is a very sneaky little exit. I'm not even sure I want to go there because I don't know if I'll be able to get back. But you can go along there. And then from there, you can go through another sneaky area, like you can walk under that, and it takes you out way high up on the gangplanks over there. It's one of the cool... It's not a formal jumping puzzle, but it's kind of like a jumping puzzle, you know, in the way that it's designed. It's one of the cooler ones in Ore, I think. Ore really ups the ante with the jumping puzzles in terms of how hidden they are. Would you believe that, you know, that bridge we crossed earlier? Over here, against this wall, sneakily hidden, is another jumping puzzle. That was one of the harder ones to find at launch. You know, players saw the achievement was available, but where do you get it, right? And it just leads you to this general area of the world. You got to do the rest for yourself. Or look it up online, as is gaming in general these days. Okay, so here, what have we got? Well, Risen Grubs, and now lots of enchanted Aurian spectral weaponry that just floats ominously around and strikes us. I've always found this stuff kind of weird because it's Aurian and Spectral, but nothing necessarily says it's Zhaitan related. Obviously, they fight for Zhaitan, but there's another interpretation maybe that they're just these wild things that spend all of their time killing things nearby now that the land is corrupted. There's actually a hero challenge in one of these maps with a Spectral greatsword or something, and I remember it was bugged at launch for the longest time, and most people were trying to get absolute 100% world completion. Carraflower so far throughout her entire adventure, I can't see yet, but it's probably seen like less than 10% of the world. Players had like 99%. They had everything except that one spectral Aurian hammer that you have to fight in one of these maps. I think it was in Straits of Devastation maybe. And so I always think of that when I see these guys. But I think the idea as well is like they're another new variety. They're another tier up of dangerous stuff. And whoa, there's a Risen Spider Queen. Okay, so big, dangerous... scary spiders. Lovely. Luckily, they're not anything stronger than just regular mobs right now. They're not like champions or veterans or anything. so we can actually cleave them down. Pretty creepy that we start dealing with spiders down here, though. Descend into the Ossuary's lower chamber is what they're actually calling this step. And so we come out, actually, quite cleverly, very near where this instance began, but we're behind a wall now. And we're in the undeady area. Look at this. This is what I was talking about as we entered, right? With the skulls and stuff and all the bones and things. And what's this? Well, this is kind of like the equivalent of a cathedral.
Those urns scattered around the room are steeped in Zaitan's magic.
But not a cathedral to Grenth. This is Doom's. So we actually got a hero point by walking in here. Let me just stand back a little bit so I can show you. This is a place called Doom's Last Stand. And in the open world, there's a hero challenge here. Doom's Last Stand? So there's all these hints, right? As I said, there's the Cormyr and Abaddon thing, which Guild Wars 1 depicted through Nightfall. But there's Doom and Grenth. And Grenth taking out Doom. Ah, that's so cool. And this was his last stand. There was another struggle between the gods right here on Ore. And it's now like there's just this caged in horrible place that became an ossuary for undead that Zaitan's now taken over. How many cool stories are intersecting here? Let's be real. So, yeah, what we can find in the area are these necrotic urns. As we walk near them... I guess these guys just broke out of a crate or something. I don't know. Oh, it's a coffin. He literally climbed out of that coffin, didn't he? Whoa, that's cool. That's a really interesting detail. So I press F to smash it. And the power that is released there prevents Zaitan from being able to create more stuff. Does Traherne, for this very brief window here, have a little bit more to say, I wonder? These urns contain a mix of spirit essence, interred remains, and draconic magic. They're our target. Destroy them. So, unfortunately, it's not like expanded into a big sequence mechanically or anything. We're going to run around. We're going to break each of these urns. And we've got to be careful of sudden awakening bodies. There are a lot in here. Here, there's a skull I can pick up on the floor. And this gives me even more fear. And because of my trait, that means I can actually put Torment out. While no other class, when picking up a skull, can do the same thing. So when I walk... Look, 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 look. Oh, that's so cool. There's an animation for it opening and everything. And this despoiler climbs out. That's a super cool little detail there. So yeah, we take out all the urns. This appears to be the last one. You ready, squad? Let's see. What do I want to pick up to do this fight? Let's have a skull in our hand. There's a bone here as well we can stun people with. So if there's going to be something dangerous... Oh my god, it's on a 120-second cooldown. Okay, never mind with that. Let's pick up this bone instead. Alright, good. Bone crack. Let's see here.
Well done.
You ready? Of course Zaitan's going to try and stop us.
Who dares? This is a sacred place. First to listen, now to Zaitan. God, you defile it.
You already defiled it when you betrayed Lissa and desecrated the remains of her followers.
Lissa is gone. We serve the dragon now. Zaitan will consume you all. Rise now, my servants. Rise now and destroy these enemies of our master.
So here you're going to see a thing. The Orions are so, like, they're quite intelligent. They're not just all totally brainless thralls in Ore. They kind of know that they're no longer worshipping the gods that they used to worship. And they kind of know that they're worshipping... And so if you think about that NPC earlier, who was like, oh, I see my family, and, you know, if they try and kill me, then I know that it's not really my family. But you gotta understand, this guy remembers his past life to an extent, or at least he does. So you notice his name as well. He's Risen Prince. We haven't seen any Orion princes for a while, right? This is Risen Prince Elassel. And again, fan fictions, think about every, you know, you could write a little story about every prince and princess and powerful general and whatever we find as a throwaway filler boss throughout the story. Really badass. I wish I had Epidemic on my bar still right now. I should get rid of the Fear Ring, the Spectral Ring. Epidemic would be really, really awesome. In fact, we can drop the Fear Ring here, look, and this guy will chase us and get feared away. Look at that, beautiful. And get feared away again, and then try and come in us and get feared away again. And every time he gets feared, he's forced to run, and he's given Torment, and Torment does more damage while people are running. So here's Elassel. Some of the Pact have been dying fighting this, but they're actually doing really well, honestly. So here's his skills. He uses Chaos Storm, which is a very mesmery ability, and it also says that he immobilizes here. It's just all these little details, like Chaos Storm there is clearly there because this is to do with Lissa, that it's so easy to miss in the core story.
Fall to your knees and wait for the dragon's embrace.
You're out, man. You're on your knees. And there you go.
Zaitan's depravity continues to destroy everything it touches. At least now this place is safe. Well done, everyone.
We've crippled the dragon's spies, food, and troop supply. It's more vulnerable than ever. How do we exploit that?
We advance. I have a plan for a large-scale operation to push back enemy forces and establish base camps right here in Ore. Now that operation can begin. All I need is time to regroup and organize our forces.
Brilliant. And we kind of knew that plan, actually, as we were going in on this mission. So now, Zhaitan has lost a lot of capacity to create new troops. We're going to create something right under his nose, and we're going to, you know, push out towards him. So you remember earlier it said that there was a hidden door to, like, a basement or whatever? What was it especially weird about that is that you actually can go underneath the Eternal Radiance Cathedral, and that's where Trahearne hopes to set up his base. So I like to think that between this instance and the start of the next, there's a few days at least, but, you know, maybe even more like upwards of a week time span. I'm going to discard this discarded garment to give us some inventory space. So before we do the next instance, I'll probably end this episode here so we have a breather, and then next time we can imagine time has passed and we see what Trahearne has figured out. Like I say, this is the end of Act 1, Victory or Death. We now go on to Act 2, which is... well, we'll see. We're done here. This place is still crawling with Risen, but the Ossuary will create no more abominations. Meet me back at Fort Trinity, and we'll discuss the Pact's next move. I don't know if we actually do have to go all the way back to Fort Trinity for this. But what a beautiful instance. I really adore that. For most players, you know, they're just going to wander through that, and they're not going to think very hard about what they're seeing. They're not going to really identify with why Doom's Last Stand is such an exciting idea. But when you do have that backstory, and you do kind of see that, it enriches so much of this. Yeah, so we don't go back to Fort Trinity. We're just going to walk up the road there. And it all starts coming together here now at Further Into Ore, the start of Act 2, Victory or Death. I hope you guys enjoyed. I'm going to hide out in this camp here with this Asura. It feels somewhat safe to me. And I'll be back next episode. We're going to go a little bit deeper into curses. And, well, we might find ourselves getting just a little bit sidetracked next episode too, for a really important thing to do with Kate.
I'm sure. Well, if you do get more of those disgusting plants, don't bring him near me. I'm trying to work.
Time to find more plants.